Hello folks, Alex here, aka Candyman, and welcome to the video. Well, since the new update Ember Rising just came out on September 9th, well damn. Anyway, since the new update is here, that also means one thing. Ranked has been reset. Now, your good old pal here hasn't done much of Ranked in his time playing Rainbow Six Siege. Well, in fact, not much at all, really. That's not true. I actually did it once for the Xbox One achievement, and other than that, I've never touched Ranked at all, and never even earned my rank on PC. So I thought, why not try for real this time on the PC edition where the pros play, and see how far I can get this season. So consider this a getting good saga, a training video, or just a video where you can laugh and cringe and possibly just want to stop playing the game after seeing someone play the game so badly. And with this series, I'm going to be recording my progress along the way and give updates as I go and show you every match throughout the season and see where we end up at the end of things. So, welcome to the Diary of a Scrub. So for this episode, I'm going to be prepping the series and discussing a few things, and I thought that the best place to start is the operators that I'll be taking into this adventurous scrubbery and having fun with. So first up, let's take a look at the attackers. Now, with Rainbow Six Siege having a pick and ban system implemented into the game, it means that there are certain times that I might not be able to pick an operator, or because I'm working a part of a team, I might have to choose a certain role, or I might just have a certain operator pretty much chosen already. So what I decided to do was to pick 9 from the attackers, 9 from the defenders, to give myself a nice little range of characters or operators that I can choose and play with throughout the series, and also kind of lock down certain roles to make sure that I know what I'm doing throughout the series, and also just ensuring that I have operators that I can basically invest my time in and get used to playing throughout the series, instead of just picking random operators every time and not really having a focused game plan or a focused style to actually play with. So let's take a look at the 3 categories for each side and break down what operators I'm going to be playing. So first up, I thought we'd start with the attackers. So the first attacker category here is the fraggers. Now these are the guys who kind of run in there and they get the kill straight away, or they just generally the guys who carry the team and pick off the important operators and just generally cause havoc to the enemy team. So in the fragger category, I decided to go with 3 operators that I feel very comfortable with, but also have a little bit of utility so that I can still support the team. That includes Twitch with the shock drone, Ash with her breaching charge, and Sledge with his big hammer. Now the reason I chose these 3 operators is because they are characters that I've played since day 1, who I have a nice rapport with. I generally enjoy the weapons. The F2, for instance, is probably one of my favourite guns in the game. Very solid, even with the nerfs and the little changes here and there. It's still a pretty good gun. Not only that, but with Sledge's L85, it gives him a nice medium-range gun that isn't the super quick gun in the game and isn't the super most powerful, but it's generally one of the best to control. And as long as I keep his utility going, I might be able to kind of do some cheeky things throughout the series. But who knows? And obviously Ash, because Ash has probably got the R4C and the G36C, which still has a JCOG. So there's a nice little bit of variety there in terms of weapons that are easy to control, easy to manage, but aren't doo-doo, and I can still use it in the game effectively. Okay, onto the hard breaches. Now this is probably the class I'm going to be playing the most of, mainly because I always like to be a good supportive player on the team. I like to make sure that we've always got roles filled that are needed. So for instance, healers in Overwatch, or even just engineers and medics in Battlefield. Just the casual, I'm here to help the team rather than be a excellent player. So the first hard breacher obviously on that list is Thermite, an OG hard breacher from back in day 1. Spent a lot of time playing Thermite because I always get stuck playing the hard breacher, so I feel very comfortable with his setup, with what he brings into the fight, and generally just is still a pretty effective character who I enjoy playing. Next up is Hibana, who I have come to really just love and admire. Even though she hasn't got as much armor as Thermite, her Type 21 assault rifle is brilliant. Not only that, but she's got a great backup weapon. The Kairos explosive devices are brilliant, and just generally she has a little bit more maneuverability, but her assault rifle is what really kind of grabs me and hooks me and makes me love Hibana. And finally, Maverick. Obviously, Maverick is one of the newer hard breaches, and even though he doesn't have the effective range as Hibana and Thermite, he can still be quite a trouble for certain teams, and even though he won't be able to take down lots of hard walls or reinforced walls, he can still basically cause havoc, chaos, and basically help support the team by taking out little bits and pieces. Plus, he's a great support character to go along with someone like Thermite or Hibana, since he can take out electric devices behind reinforced walls. So, not too much to talk about here, just some very bog standard picks, but some very important picks for this series. Now finally, onto the third and final group of attackers that I will be taking into this series is obviously support. Now, I mentioned previously with the likes of the fraggers and hard breaches that they have some utility that can help support the team. But for me, this category is strictly there to help the team. So obviously, first up, we're going to have Thatcher, who I feel like is just a very important pick for any game mode because of the EMP devices. As the game's gone on, more defenders have gotten electronic or just little devices that can be destroyed using an EMP device. So obviously Thatcher on the list is up there. The AR-33 is probably one of my favourite guns in the game. I've had some pretty excellent games with that, but obviously the L-85 is a great pick as well. And obviously, previously mentioned, the EMP grenades are pretty important in order to attack a site. Next up on that list is Buck, who, similar to Sledge in the fact that he can basically add a little bit of verticality to the map. He can breach soft walls. The frag grenades are pretty good. And not only that, but he has some very contentious weapons for me in the game, but still some pretty effective guns in the right hands. So I feel like if I can play a little bit more of Buck and get used to him a little bit more, that he can be an effective operator for me and help me with the support role that I do enjoy playing. And finally, I struggled to pick a final operator for this category, but I thought I'd go for the safe pick, which was Dokaibi. Now, obviously with Dokaibi, her weapons aren't a particularly strong suit for me, but the universal ability, her universal utility, is pretty effective. Being able to ring the phones and annoy enemies, and also help location in a game where sound is so important, I feel like Dokaibi is going to be a great pick for this series. So that's it, everybody. That is the 9 operators I will be taking into this series on attack, and I think I've got a nice balance between fragging, hard breaching, and support. But like previously mentioned, I think hard breaching is going to be the class I end up picking it the most, because they are super important, super effective, and generally I feel the most comfortable in playing. But who knows, we might get some really supportive teammates who want to pick these characters and give me an opportunity to maybe spread my wings a little bit and try something new. So now that we're done with the attackers, let's take a look at the defenders. So just like the attackers, I've broken down the 9 defenders into 3 groups which I think best support what they do. And the first group I'd like to take a look at is the anchors. Now these are generally the operators you choose to sit and watch the point, maybe watch the objective, or essentially set up a place where you can watch the enemy and stop them getting anywhere close to the objective. So the first anchor we're obviously going to talk about is Maestro. Not only has he got an absolutely brilliant machine gun, the Alder, it comes with an ACOG, the holographics pretty decent on it, but it's a great suppressive weapon, very strong, pretty easy to control, and generally just a gun that I feel very comfortable with. Not only that, but the fact that his secondaries are pretty effective as well for using them to open up walls, open up kill holes, or just to be cheeky with. And obviously his utility is probably one of the best parts of his character, having 2 cameras that he can place that can also open up and shoot enemies, stopping plants, shooting off thermite charges, and just generally gathering intel. He's generally a great character who I've enjoyed playing and generally really enjoyed anchoring with because of how effective he can actually be. Now the second anchor is probably one of my favourite operators in the game, probably someone who I've put a lot of time into, and that is of course Mira. Now her utility is probably one of the most effective, but at the same time probably one of the most dangerous to use in the game on defense. And mainly that's because you can see through walls, you have a bulletproof window there so you can't get shot through, but obviously once they are opened, you've pretty much invited the attackers to shoot you through a murder hole, which will no doubt come to bite us in the arse in this series. But her Vector submachine gun and backup shotgun are brilliant weapons to use. I feel very comfortable with these guns, so I feel like I've got to be able to play Mira in a very effective way, and I can't wait to actually jump in and defend my ass off with Mira. Now finally, this could be a choice that could go into another category which we're going to talk about later, but generally the reason why I've put Legion in this category is because his Legion mines are a great way of being able to tell which room they're coming from, which avenue they're coming from to get to the bomb room. And generally, he's great for intel gathering, for disrupting the plans, and generally, if used around the bomb room, you can kind of create some sticky situations for the opposing team. And generally, with Legion, I do like to hold angles and generally kind of anchor down in a spot and watch where enemies are coming from, rather than using him as a roamer. Personally, I just like to sit there with the room, have my goon mines available so I can tell where they're coming from, and use that to hold an angle and take out the enemy. So that's all three of the anchors. Now let's move on to the next category. Now, the second category I want to talk about is team support. Now, the reason I call them team support is that they generally have an ability that goes well with another person, or they have an ability that will help to bolster the team as a whole. Now, the first one on this list is Mute. Now, obviously, the Mute device is brilliant for stopping charges, drones, electronics, and even though he's got a great counter with Thatcher, who we previously just talked about, the Mute device can come in handy for all manner of situations, and generally with the likes of his C4 and his MP5K, he's a very effective character and one who, like I said, have played a lot of time with since the beginning days of Rainbow Six Siege, and he's just an operator that I feel very comfortable with. So I think that he's probably one of the easiest to jump into. Now, next is probably two picks that I could practically just talk about all in one go, and that is Doc and Rook, which are two very obvious picks, I think, for this category. Doc has the Stim Pistol, which can heal, revive, give a boost to his allies. Rook gives out Bulletproof Plate, which help the team basically absorb a bit more damage before they go down, plus it also helps them to go down rather than be killed immediately. Now, both operators essentially have the same setup. Not really too much to discuss here, apart from they have some pretty good secondary utilities like the camera and the impact grenades. And obviously the MP5K ACOG is one of the best guns in the game. So there's not really much to talk about. They practically are the same character, apart from a few different things. But really the MP5 ACOG is one of the best guns in the game. So very easy operator to play. Doc can be a very, very supportive player if he's there healing everybody. And obviously Rook's passive passive ability is great, because once those plates go down, you can die after that. As long as you've done your job, you're okay. So that's it for team support. Let's move into the last category, and finally the most obvious class probably on the defenders, and probably the one I'm going to play the least, the roamers. Now, I've mentioned this a lot of times anytime I've played Rainbow Six Siege. I'm not a roamer. I don't have the mechanical gun skill to pull it off. My map knowledge is pretty sketchy at best, and most of the time I end up finding myself getting lost while the attacking team have taken the objective, or it's just a case of by the time I find somebody, the game is over. But let's talk about them anyway, because there will probably be a point in this series in which I have to play them. So first up is obviously Jaeger, the guy who is probably one of the sweatiest characters in the game. Generally is always a staple in Rainbow Six Siege, whether you're playing casual or ranked. The 416 carbine is absolutely brilliant, and even though he doesn't have an ACOG anymore, the gun is still a magnificent weapon to use. The very little recoil it has, decent fire rate, decent damage. Without an ACOG, it's still a very effective weapon. Not only that, but what's great about him is the fact that once he plays his anti-grenade devices, his ADS, he can basically leave the objective room and still be able to contribute to the team. So even though I might not be a great roamer, I can still contribute to the team in a support-like fashion with Jaeger. Next up is Ella. Now, obviously, with ranked, the bomb defusal mode is the one mode that you play, and who better to pick than Ella? Her speed is astronomical. Her submachine gun, the Scorpion, is absolutely just it's like a machine gun hamster. It's just little and small and light, but it just rinses people. It's beautiful. Her shotgun's actually not bad as well, but generally the main reason I chose Ella for this is because even though I will be roaming with this character, similar to Jaeger, I can still use my ability to help out the team even if I die. So obviously Ella's Grismot mines are very effective, great at stunning enemies as they come into the objective zone, and not only that, but with the fact that it sets off a noise you can hear when it goes off, it's also a great way of gathering intel, and also helpful if, like I said, I die in the game. Now finally, okay, I've got to preference this a little bit, I think. Now, with this third spot, I honestly didn't know who to choose because Ella and Jaeger are really the only two roamers I've actually used in the game. But after playing a little bit on stream in casual, I found out that I really do enjoy playing Vigil. Now, even though his ability is not super effective, the fact that drones are super important in ranked does make him pretty useful in certain situations. But not only that, but he's got a great primary, the K1A, and generally he's a pretty speedy operator, and I think he's just effective because of his ability and his gun being something I feel very comfortable with. But like I said, this is going to be a class I probably rarely touch throughout the series because I'm not a roaming person. But I thought I would pick 3 anyway, just in case I do get allotted into those positions. At least I have somebody ready to play as and someone effective towards the team. Okay, now that we've looked at the operators, let's talk about the final bit of prep I've been doing in order to prepare myself for this series. So the first bit is obviously the training. Now this mainly entailed going into casual while streaming, as well as working in Terrorist Hunt, just to get a familiarity with my operators, my loadouts, and generally work on my mechanical aim. By doing this, I basically just kind of warmed myself up a little bit and kind of got used to the operators, especially the ones that I've maybe not used in a while or maybe just never touched in my life. Now, along with the training, I've actually been doing a little bit of studying, like a little bookworm. Basically by watching YouTubers like Varsity Gaming, Macy J, and Munition, and also watching Alfredo Diaz from Achievement Hunter. Mainly just to kind of pick up on some tips, some advice, some strategies, as well as just helping to learn the map and gain some knowledge before I jump into this series. Other than that, there's not really much else I can do to prepare. The only way to get good at ranked is to play ranked. So that will pretty much do it for the episode. So that was episode 0, the epilogue. Next time out, we will actually be starting our journey. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we get on, and hopefully I won't embarrass myself too much. But if you have any advice or you're just generally interested, let me know down below. I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and I will catch you next time for episode 1 of Diary of a Scrub. See you then, folks. Bye-bye.